Guys, welcome back to Southern Extreme TV. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. On today's video, we're going to be diving into detail for a brand new 300 Winchester Magnum built by NightStalker Precision. So thanks for hanging out with me on my channel. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share this video. Really excited to be talking about today's video, mainly because I, number one, love doing firearm reviews. It is one of the greatest things that I enjoy doing with the channel, aside from hunting and trying to show you guys hunting videos. Showing quality gun builds is just something that resonates at home with me. If you don't know who NightStalker Precision is, do yourself a favor, go check them out. If you are a person who likes AR-15s, if you like AR-10s, or if you're somebody who likes a bolt style rifle like this one right here, they can build you guys pretty much anything that you're looking for, any caliber. If you like a steel barrel, carbon barrel, doesn't matter. They can build it for you guys. So really top-notch customer service and really great firearms. If you've kept up with my channel, I actually took one of their rifles to Africa, me and my dad, and took a 7mm PRC and had fantastic success with that rifle, and we had a dang blast. So really excited to be testing out the 300 Winchester Magnum, mainly because the 300 Win Mag is that all-around, do-it-all, old-school round. It's almost like a 30-06 in my mind. It's the caliber that everybody has, especially if you're going big game hunting, if you're going elk hunting, if you're going mule deer hunting, even your whitetail guys. The 300 Winchester Magnum is a round and a caliber that can do absolutely everything. So I'm really excited to be testing this out because I've not shot the first bullet through this gun. I recently just got everything kind of put together the way that I want. I bore sighted it, haven't even shot it to see where I'm at on paper bore sight wise. We're going to make those adjustments on film because I want the first shots to be very pure and very realistic. I want to go over some of the build specs for this gun and exactly what we're going to be using to kind of put this all together. I want to start off by talking about the suppressor that we're going to be running, and that is from a Stealth Additive Works. SAW, Stealth Additive Works. This is their 30 cal can, and what I was really excited about this, especially for this type of gun, is that this can is coming in at 9.9 ounces. So that is incredibly lightweight. Number one, it's very lightweight. Number two, it is 3D printed titanium, and you can shoot a multitude of 30 cal bullets out of it. Pretty much they're saying if it is a 30 cal bullet, you can shoot it out of this can, no problem whatsoever, and you've got a lifetime warranty, which is really freaking awesome. So really appreciate those guys allowing me to run that suppressor, not only on this gun, but we're gonna be testing it out on some of our other firearms as well. I really hope that I get good success out of it because I've not shot it yet. So wanting to test it, and potentially, because it's so lightweight and so compact, at 6.5 inches, right at 6 inches, I'm hoping I can use it on my little 308 shorty that I use on public ground up in the Appalachian Mountains. So really excited about it, but we're talking mainly about the rifle today. So let's talk about the barrel. I've got a carbon fiber barrel from Oregon Mountain Rifle Company, and this is not my first OMR barrel that I've got. I've actually got an OMR barrel on a 7mm PRC. I've got one on this 300, and I've actually got one coming that is going to be for a 300 PRC, which is going to be a later video once I get all those build components put together. But what's a little different about this OMR barrel in comparison to the 7 PRC that I have is they have this thing blacked out. You can see that they've got black Cerakote here, and you would be able to see it on the thread protectors. It comes black as well. On my 7 PRC, this right here is a little stainless piece, so it's silver. Not necessarily saying that it looks bad, but having this all blacked out that complements all the furniture, to me, is a really good touch. So OMR barrel, 300 Winchester Magnum. This is a 22-inch barrel, so it's not short like a 20. It's not super long like a 24. It is a 22-inch barrel. To me, I think that's kind of that happy medium where you can still run a suppressor on it if you want. If you don't want to run a suppressor, it's not so short that it's just going to explode your eardrums where it's real close to you. So I think that was that real happy medium. For the action on this gun, we are using a Kelbely's Atlas Light action, and I cannot speak highly enough about Kelbely's actions. I've got it on the 7 PRC, which is the gun that we took to Africa. I've got it on this 300 Win Mag, and I'm telling you guys, it is an absolute fantastic action. It is by far the best action that I've ran because it is lightweight and it is very, very smooth, on top of the fact that it's built off of a Remington Model 700 platform. So a lot of stocks, a lot of chassis, and a lot of accessories are made to go with this action itself. So kudos to them for creating just a top of the line, really, really awesome action. For the chassis that we chose, we are going with an Ultradyne chassis. This is an Ultradyne chassis and an Ultradyne stock. This is their lightweight stock. I actually had this stock laying around for another build that I wound up not using for it, and they actually sent me a raw, unfinished chassis. And the reason that I did that is I wanted to test out, for the first time ever, doing a spray paint, sponge bath, camouflage pattern that I've never done. I've never done that on a gun whatsoever. And this camouflage pattern that you see on this chassis was done in-house by me with spray paint. And to be honest, I'm not that very artsy, craftsy, if you will, so I was a little nervous about going into that, but I'm telling you guys, I'm super proud of myself. I'm gonna toot my own horn, and I am very, very proud of this camouflage pattern. Some of you guys may not like it and think it looks like absolute dog crap. That's okay, because I like it. I think it looks really, really good with the rifle, and it's just a neat little twist that, you know, buying from Ultradyne or buying from Mark Downing, you can get an unfinished chassis and you can do the paint job yourself. If you want a specific color, a specific camo pattern, you can do that, and you actually save a little bit of money on the chassis itself by getting it unfinished from Ultradyne. So that's kind of a cool take of saving a little bit of money and then being able to put your own personalized twist on this chassis system. For the optics, we're going to be running an Athlon optics, and I'm really excited about this scope because of all the Athlon optics that I've ran, the Aris ETR has been my most favorite optic or scope that I have ran, that they've ever came out with, or that I've ever had the pleasure of testing. Now, the Gen 1 model is the one that I have been running for years and years and years. You guys have seen that across a multitude of different rifle and ammunition tests here on the channel, but this is their Gen 2 model, and I'm really excited about it because it's got the same reticle that the other optic has. However, they made it a little more streamlined with the turrets. Everything else is pretty much the same. It is a 4.5 base magnification that goes all the way up to 30, and it has a 56 millimeter objective lens on the front, and then you get a 34 millimeter tube here. Now, the only negative I got with that is going to be two things. The negative is going to be the weight. This is a little bit heavier of an optic, so if you're wanting to go super, super lightweight, I would recommend downgrading this, and you definitely can. You can still get that real nice glass, that real nice clarity with the long range precision aspects of it without being as heavy as what this optic is. That's the one negative I got on it. And then also the other is probably the 34 millimeter tube. Your ring, your scope ring options are going to get a little more expensive. Now, this scope does come with scope rings. However, I chose to run a set of one-piece DNZ mounts just because they're a little more rugged, a little beefier. And to me, with this larger scope on this larger caliber rifle, that just kind of seemed to accent everything all in all together. So I'm really excited about this scope. I know I really like the glass. I know I really like the optic because I've been running the Gen 1 for a long time. So really excited to be testing out the Gen 2 on this 300 Winchester Magnum. Trigger, we're running a Trigger Tech Diamond, and this is just pure recommendations from Mark Downing, owner of NightStalker Precision. I have pretty much exclusively swapped all of my triggers, or started getting all of my triggers from my custom rifles with this Trigger Tech Diamond, just for the simple fact that I absolutely love the adjustability, and it is so freaking clean and crisp when you pull the trigger. Just a hands down fantastic trigger, and that's the one thing that I want to say that you don't want to that you don't want to skimp out on when you're building a rifle like this from NightStalker Precision. You know, you're going to get a nice carbon barrel, get a real nice action. You don't want to skip out on your trigger, and you don't want to skip out on your optic, because you could have the biggest, baddest, most great gun, but if you have a crappy trigger, which is what you're actually mechanically pulling to make the gun go bang, that doesn't make sense. And then obviously the piece of glass that you're looking through to make sure that you're hitting exactly where you want to hit, you don't want to skip out on low quality optics as well on a real nice build like this. So with that being said, that is pretty much the gist of the build. That's kind of the somewhat cool stuff, somewhat boring stuff. Now let's get into the actual shooting aspect of this rifle. Again, I have not shot this gun whatsoever. First time ever shooting the stealth additive suppressor off of this. The one cool thing with this stealth additive is I do have it in the flat dark earth color. They do make it in solid black, but I did think that the flat dark earth kind of complemented the stock, with it having several different shades of brown in it. It just made it look a little cooler, if you will. For the ammunition we're going to be running today, we're going to be running Hornady, or not Hornady, sorry, we're going to be running normal whitetail. Now this is not the bullet that I really want to run out of this gun. I really want to run some Hornady ELDXs out of this thing, just because the Africa trip where I took my 7mm PRC, the ELDXs performed above and beyond anything that I could possibly imagine. So I really want to run the ELDXs out of this 300 Win Mag, and I think they make it in like a 178 grain bullet. This though, the normal whitetail, is a 150 grain bullet, so it's going to be coming out of the barrel a little spicy. They are claiming, let's see if they've got it listed here, they are claiming 3,200 FPS muzzle velo. I think that's going to be a little aggressive. I think that with the 150s and a suppressor with a 22-inch barrel, I think we could push around 3,050 to 3,150, 31, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on how hot it is and depending on how the suppressor affects your muzzle velo as well. So really excited about it. Let's start throwing some freedom seeds downrange at our target. We're going to aim, we've got 5 targets. We're going to aim at the dead center, obviously with our bore shot, make an adjustment. We're not going to be just trying to knock the center punch of the bullseye out. The biggest thing that I want to do is I want to put some rounds through it, kind of see how it's grouping. I don't know if it's going to like this bullet whatsoever. I know that these barrels right here are capable of 0.5 and below MOA. Sometimes I'm capable of that type of grouping. Sometimes I'm not. So I know that the barrel and I know that the gun is capable of that. However, the right barrel ammunition combination, you got to get all that stuff dialed in to get real good groups. So this will be a true testament to see if just some very cheap ammunition is actually going to cycle, or not cycle, but actually group out of this gun. So let's get the camera rolling on the actual target. Let's get this thing loaded up and let's see what we can do. All right, so I know you guys are probably struggling to see that target right there. We're battling some glare right now, number one, and then number two, we're just in a weird part of the day where I'm actually in the shade but the target's in the sun. So I apologize if the camera lighting is a little off or a little odd looking. So we're gonna make it a little bit of adjustment. We are shooting, so a tripod, I get asked sometimes, I always forget to talk about what I'm shooting off of. This is a Athlon Optics tripod. It's their CF40 model, which basically just stands for 40mm carbon fiber legs. This is a real heavy duty, very stable tripod. I get asked a lot of times and kind of get criticized for shooting off of these tripods during these accuracy testing, but I'm comfortable behind a tripod because that's what we hunt off of when we are coyote hunting a lot. And obviously I'm locked down real nice and stable with this tripod. So that's what we're using. Let's send our first round downrange. 300 Winchester Magnum with the 150 normal whitetails. Very cheap ammunition. And the first shot we're going to take is going to be dead center, and then we're going to make an adjustment from there. Okay, so it looks like we're 2 inches low. So I can live with that. So we're going to make an adjustment. We're in mils, we're not MOA. So let's go. That's going to be pretty doggone close. First initial impressions, very smooth shooting rifle. The suppressor, I'm not wearing hearing protection. My ears are not ringing. I've got, obviously I'm in my backyard, so my house is kind of up against me. There's not a crazy echo going on. I'm actually really impressed. The recoil is not terrible. It's definitely not a 308. I mean, you're talking about a Magnum caliber shooting a 30 caliber bullet. So you're going to get a little bit more recoil than what your lower caliber rounds are, or lower grain powder rounds are, but that comes with the territory of shooting a Magnum rifle. But again, it's not unbearable. This is something that, you know, just based off that first shot, I could go to the range and shoot 100, 200, 300 rounds through this thing and not feel bad about it at all. So second round, we made an adjustment. Let's go second shot and let's see how this thing performs. We're going back at the dead center. Okay, so still a snuff low. We're going to go up a couple more clicks. And like I said, I'm not trying to just absolutely center punch the bullseye every single time, because we're in load development, if you will. We're trying to figure out what this gun likes, what the gun doesn't like. These are the first rounds through the barrel. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence of breaking the barrel in, giving it a good cleaning, putting some rounds through it, and really just figuring the gun out all in all. So shot number 3, we made a couple adjustments there. Dead center again. Pretty much hit the exact same spot. I know I'm making adjustments up. So, suppressor is definitely going to be one of those that gets really hot. But again, what I have found with these suppressors that do a relatively good job of suppressing sound, the more sound that they suppress, typically the hotter they get. And the suppressors that are not quite as noise reductive, if you will, they don't get hot quite as fast. So that's one thing there to kind of note. But again, we're burning a lot of powder through this gun. We made another adjustment where we're bringing it up slowly but surely. I'm gonna go one more click just to be safe. So shot number 4, dead center bullseye. I'm hoping this is gonna be close enough, and then we're gonna go 4 different groupings of either 3 or 4 rounds and just see what we can get out of this gun. Yep, I can live with that right there. We're not gonna make any adjustments from there. We're gonna give this suppressor and barrel a couple moments just to cool off. And then we're gonna do, go top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And we're gonna do 3, 3, 3, and 3. And hopefully the shooter and the gun is gonna perform really, really well. And if it does really well, it may be a hard sell for me to not use these normal whitetails, because this is actually the bullet that I run out of my 308 for deer. It's the exact same bullet. It's a 150 grain bullet out of my 308, but I'm pushing it a lot faster with a lot more energy because we're burning so much powder. So there's a little bit of a sale there to the 300 and that 150 grain bullet, but it is nice having a little bit larger of a bullet. So let's let this thing cool down for just a thought, and then we're gonna do some more groupings. So I know we're going to be close enough to do our groupings now. So let's go 3 in the top left corner. Okay. Just a smidgen high. And there is a chance, if you've watched my videos in the past, these carbon barrels, the one thing about these carbon barrels is they do a really good job of holding zero very, very well through getting hot. However, what I do find is that where a steel barrel, as it starts getting hot, the steel barrel will just gradually start opening up. What I have found with these carbon barrels is that you hold a really, really good tight pattern, and then all of a sudden, once that barrel gets to a certain temperature, it's like it just completely opens up all at once, and you may be missing 3, 4 inches left, right, up, down, all over the place. But again, we're talking about repping out numerous rounds through a barrel, which is not necessarily going to be real life hunting situations, or even real life like competition type shooting, to where you're going to be getting that barrel so dang hot that you're going to be causing some type of issue. So first shot, let's go with the second shot, top left. No, this one and one more. Okay, so not a fantastic group there. I felt good about that shot too. That's not to say that I couldn't have monkeyed something up, because I very easily could have. Okay, so that one's a little bit better. That's probably 3/4 MOA with that second shot. So the second and third shot is probably 3/4 MOA, and we've got probably slightly over MOA. Probably, I'm gonna say it's probably 1.15, 1.2 MOA from all of them there together. Definitely slightly over MOA, but that could have very easily been an issue on my end as well. But let's let this thing cool down for just a couple more shots. Make sure that we're shooting them all at what we're hoping to be relatively the exact same temperature when we're doing these groupings. That way our testing, what am I trying to think of? There's a word for that. Your test pool is all very, very similar. Your data and your inputs are all very similar, very, very close to the same. Really cool gun though, really smooth. The barrel is a little bit longer than what I'm used to. However, the intent behind this 300 Win Mag is that I'm not going to necessarily be getting this thing in and out of ground blinds or deer blinds. This is really something that, in my mind, I envision maybe taking on like a mule deer hunt, maybe going out and shooting an antelope or something like that, where maybe you need a little bit faster of a bullet like the 300 Win Mag, but also maybe you run into a situation where you have a larger animal like a mule deer, where you need that little bit of extra knockdown power. This is something that I really think would be nice. So let that barrel cool down. We're going to go with grouping number 2. We're going to go into the top right corner. Felt good about that shot. Looks like we're in the bullseye, slightly left edge. But let's see. Pretty much the whole hole is in the red, so that's pretty good. And it looks like we're trending slightly on that left edge. That's where those last 3, even though those last 3 up and down wise were a little over an inch apart, they were still hanging on that left hand edge, which is okay. You know, we can make those little micro adjustments once we get the round that we want to shoot out of this figured out. Second shot, second grouping. Yeah, now that's what I want to see. We'll start cutting some holes now. That's more better. More better. A lot of you guys make fun of me for saying more better. It's a joke. I know it's not real English, so y'all got to get off me for saying that. Shot number 3. This right here is where I get nervous on film, is trying to, when I have 2 good shots like that where it's almost hole in hole, and I'm like, man, I really want to make this third shot a hole in hole. And sometimes I struggle with that. Third shot. Come on, Blake. Pulled it slightly. Felt like a good trigger pull though. But, so not terrible. Definitely a tighter group than the first one. Probably, I'm gonna say it's sub MOA, but it's probably barely sub MOA. Probably like, I don't know, I'm gonna say it's probably like 0.85, 0.95 inches of a grouping. It's just hard for me to tell how far apart that first one is from the third one. And if I could have just put that dadgum last one a little bit tighter, then it would have helped us a little bit. But I don't think that's just a game changer, deal breaker type type situation. We still got 2 more groupings that we can do. Let's let this thing cool down for just a minute. We'll do our last, or not last 3, second to last 3. All right, grouping number 3. Okay, so what we're seeing is consistency in where the bullets are hitting, which is what I'm wanting to see right now. Everything is kind of trending slightly low, not by a lot, by like maybe 1/4 of an inch, but we're definitely hanging out on that left edge. But that's okay. We want to see consistency. That's the main thing we want to see out of this rifle. So shot number 2, grouping number 3. I pulled that one. I felt myself pull that one slightly. I don't even know where I hit. Look. Not terrible. Not terrible. I mean, it's not great, but it's not where I want it to be either. I mean that grouping sub MOA, that's probably 3/4 MOA right there, which is okay. I know that these barrels from OMR, I know that they're capable of better groupings than that. But again, it could be just an ammunition, you know, getting the right ammunition stuff figured out is a big deal too. 3rd shot, 3rd group. So yeah, starting to trend on that left edge pretty consistently, and that's okay. It's okay for us to be doing that. I got to get into this other box of ammo. We got to get 2 more rounds out. Historically, I will say that I have struggled getting the 300 Win Mags to consistently group 150 grain bullets. This is the best grouping that I've gotten out of a 300 Win Mag with the 150 grain bullets. The 300 Win Mag is really designed and built around that 180 grain projectile. And I just didn't have any 180s in my gun closet. Like I said, I'm waiting to try to get some of those 178s, the ELDXs, but these are going to do for now. Last grouping, let's see if I can not mess this up and see if I can get us a real good group out of here to finish this thing off. Woo! Excuse me, fellas. I sneezed right in y'all's ear. So we may be running into a situation where this barrel is starting to heat up pretty good because we're gradually starting to walk and get a little lower and a little more left. But I felt good when I held right there. I felt really good about that shot. We're gonna see right here what we can do. I got a feeling that second group is probably gonna be our best group. Yeah, we're starting to open up. I'm gonna shoot this last one just because we're already there and that grouping's pretty much already over with. Our barrel's starting to get a little warm, and that's what I was talking about with these carbon barrels. Sometimes, especially when they're new too, sometimes you have to shoot them a couple times and then, you know, clean them, go through a little bit of a break-in period before they really start tightening up. Maybe I pulled that last one. I'm gonna shoot one more, just because there's a chance that I pulled that number 2 shot on this, and I hope that's the case because I feel like that barrel getting that dang hot to start opening up that fast, not necessarily that fast, but damn, if I pulled that one that far to the left, that's a bad pull on my part, which I've done some dumb stuff before. All right, boy, let's see what we can do right here. Last shot no matter what. I did. I pulled it. That hole is in the number 3 hole. So you rule that one out that I pulled, that I didn't think that I pulled, then you got a pretty good grouping right there. Let's go down here and let's grab this target and let's take a look at exactly what we did. This gun, it's actually grouping a little bit better. I'll leave that action open so it'll cool down. It's grouping a little bit better than what I actually thought that it was. Obviously the dead center we shot way low, moved it up, shot, then made a small adjustment, shot again. Pretty much those holes were touching, made another adjustment, and pretty much center punched the bullseye. Moved up to the top left, and we're starting to see here where we're trending heavily on that left edge, which is okay. Again, we're not shooting to try to knock the bullseye out, we're shooting for groupings. So the first, I don't know which shot went high, but there's two pretty much on that low left where all the other ones are trending, and that one had a little bit of a flyer that went high. I'm gonna say more than likely the one that went high is one of two things. Either I pulled it as a shooter, or number two, because this is a newer barrel, the barrel's still going through the break-in period and trying to get everything flushed out, there's a chance it could have just had a random flyer this early into shooting this rifle. Now the second grouping, which is probably the best, close to the best, the third one could be the best. I got to get a tape on them and see, but definitely going to be sub MOA right there. You're not going to be in that 0.5 MOA range, but you're going to be closer to that 0.75, 0.83, 0.84 MOA range. And again, grouping number three, which is arguably, is probably honestly a little bit better than grouping number two. But again, you're not quite at that 0.5 MOA range. You're probably, again, you're under MOA, no doubt whatsoever, but you're probably you're just right at that 0.75, or maybe just slightly greater than 0.75. And then obviously grouping number four, we had this crazy flyer off to the left. That was 100% my fault. So we're not even going to count that into the grouping for the gun itself. That's pure shooter error. And then you've got three that are pretty much MOA. Obviously that you got two holes that are cutting still on that very left edge of the bullseye, and then you've got the one that's still trending kind of low. Not saying that one wasn't something that I potentially pulled, but we do have several other bullet holes that are trending on that lower side left edge of the bullseye. So more than likely that's just a solid representation of what that gun is close to being capable of right now. Now again, we're using very, very cheap ammunition. Norma, I keep wanting to call it American Whitetail, but it's not by Hornady, it's Norma Whitetail. Very cheap, very, very cheap ammunition, which again, if you're not saying that the gun won't gradually shoot this better, because again, I've had some guns that really like this cheap stuff. I've had some guns that are very picky about it, and I've got some guns that just kind of shoot it okay. Now, if you're talking about in the grand scheme of things, if you have a gun that is shooting below MOA, that is considered to be an above average accurate gun. So the average rifle in America that I would say the majority of your mass manufacturers are trying to get to is they're trying to guarantee 1-inch groupings, around 1-inch groupings at 100 yards. And if you can get a rifle or a manufacturer or a name brand that can give you or produce better than that, then obviously that's a very accurate rifle. This gun is clearly capable of below MOA groupings, and I think that we're going to get this thing dialed in substantially better than what it is showing on this sheet of paper right here, because again, I want to test some different ammunition because I really want to get this thing dialed in, just like that 7mm PRC. With that 7 PRC, the ammunition availability is so few in comparison to the 300 Win Mag. You didn't really have a lot of options on the market for getting different types of rounds to test through it, whereas with the 300 Win Mag you have a wide variety, a wide range of different ammunition that you can test through it to see what it likes. So this is going to be just kind of a plug and pull, plug and test type of rifle to really get that bullet, the powder, and the manufacturing name brand, get that all dialed in with what this gun is wanting to do. And I think we're going to get a really, really good shooter. absolutely enjoyed shooting this gun today. Again, this is a 300 Winchester Magnum, and I felt like I've been out here shooting a 22 long rifle. The suppressor did absolutely fantastic. I was a little nervous because of how short, again, you're talking about a 6-inch suppressor that comes in at like 9.9 ounces. Okay, that's very, very light for a suppressor. To have a suppressor that short, that light, that is rated for these Magnum 30 caliber rounds, but also is quiet enough that you don't have to use hearing protection, is a very, very big deal. And that's really what I wanted with this rifle, and that's the reason I wanted to pair that suppressor with this rifle, because it's a little bit longer of a barrel, little bit, I'm not saying that it's a heavy gun by any means, but because it's a longer barrel, because I've got a big optic on it, it's a little bit heavier than some of the other rifles that I have. So running a suppressor that's shorter and lightweight, that does not make the gun feel too much to carry in and out of the woods on a day-to-day basis. So everything performed really, really well. Again, the shooter is probably not quite as good as what the gun is. And then obviously I need to do my due diligence and really dial in exactly what type of bullet in the 300 Win Mag class that this gun is going to enjoy shooting the absolute most. So hopefully y'all enjoyed today's video. If you are interested in a gun like this, if you're interested in any of the gear that I've got on this, drop a comment down below if I didn't cover it or you've got questions about it. I will try my best to answer all the questions that I can, and if I don't know the answer to the question, I'll try to find somebody who is a lot smarter than I am to help us out. So really appreciate y'all hanging out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video. Sharing is caring, and it helps this channel out so dang much. We really appreciate it, and we love you guys. See y'all on the next episode.